And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at a game called Yunhe. This is a game about a boat sailing up and down a river in China, and you are trying to get the chief official officer or the highest professor. I'm not sure what you're trying to do, but you're trying to get the most points. And this guy's trying to travel the river down, and you're trying to build canals, but at the same time keep the populace from getting too full of riotous behavior. So you want this guy to like you, you want to make everything look good for him, you know, your typical bureaucratic stuff. So you're going to be building this, and the game features a mechanism I really like, and that's where you have a handful of action cards. You're going to draft one. Those are the actions you're going to take this round, and then pass it to the next person who will have one less action card to choose from. Here's some more details. It's a big long board here. There's a river, and you're going to have the commissioner is going to be sailing down the river, and he's going to be moving a certain number of spaces every turn. That number of spaces is actually determined by the number of players in the game. But it's about enough so that he will get halfway down the board each turn. Could be more, could be less, depending on how he moves. Once he hits the bottom, he'll turn around and come back up. You'll say, okay, he made one journey, and at the end of his fourth journey, so he'll go down, up, down, up. At the end of that, the game is over, and whoever has the most points is the winner. Points are kept track of with discs around the outside, although players can get 200 or 300 point chips if they get more than that. Each player has their own player board, and you also have a pacifist board up here and a board over here. There's names for these, and I keep forgetting what they are. But if you get tiles on this board, you will lose points at the end of the game, 4 points for each tile. And at the end of the game, you will square the number of points, the number of tiles that you have here. So if I have 5 tiles here at the end of the game, I'll get 25 points. Now players have this 3 stacks of tiles here in front of them. And each round of the game goes like this. One person has a starting token, and they're going to get a handful of action cards. And they're going to draft one of these action cards and then pass the rest to the next person who will draft one, etc. Then players will reveal their cards and take the actions on them. Now each card is multiple actions, and there are many similar actions on the cards. So many of the cards will say, hey, take the top tile here, whether it's face up or face down, and put it into your 6 available spots to play them. So you'll see this one lets you do that 3 times. This one here lets you shuffle your stacks. This one here lets you put 2 of them out on the board. There's a very similar looking symbol where you can reveal, this one here, lets you reveal the top tile of each of those so you know what you're putting out there. So you have various tiles that are in your thing. Let's take a look at the tiles real quickly here. The different tiles have different canals going in different directions and are worth points. They go all the way up to 9. And there are also unrest tiles. Unrest tiles are on the board. You don't want unrest tiles in your section. It doesn't matter whose color they are. So the blue player, this is his section. Each player has a section of the board, and the board is actually kind of truncated if there's less than 5 players. I'm showing you the full 5 players. So players are going to be using their actions to take tiles from here and put them here, reveal them, or to build tiles. When you build a tile, you can build it in an empty space, or you can get rid of an unrest token. When you get rid of an unrest token, it's put up here on this board. And we have to be careful on this board because when there's a certain number of tokens of the same player on that board, then they're going to have riots, and they're going to lose points for each one of those. So if it's 3, every time they get 3 tiles, they're going to get a riot, and they're going to lose 12 points. So one of the cards lets you take one of these tiles and stick it underneath your stack, so you can help clear those out. But a lot of tiles require unrest. A lot of these cards require unrest tokens to activate. Like I can spend 2 unrest tokens that I have on my player board in front of me. You put 1 on this board here, which could be dangerous, and the underneath one of your stacks, and then I can get rid of someone else's canal tile off the board. It's one of the only ways to do it. Or I can make the boat so it doesn't move this round. Or I can make someone else lose 8 points. Or I can send one of their unrest tiles over to this board over here, which will lose them points at the end of the game. So there's different things that you can do to get points. And many of the tiles are going to be letting you put down canal pieces. That's what most of these tiles let you do. As you can see, there's really not a huge differentiation. This one just gives you a point straight up. But when you put out a canal tile on a board, it's going to give you points immediately for whatever number's on it. So putting out your 8 and 9 is a good idea. You can also put canals on this section up here, but you can't put more tiles there than you have on the board. So you have to be careful. Putting tiles up here will get you points at the end of the game, but you need to have tiles on the board first. And these tiles matter because when this guy moves, he's going to follow the easiest path. So you want to follow the paths. If he moves onto your tile, you're going to get 2 points. And if he moves following the canal itself, so if you have a canal hooked up to the one he moves from, you will get an additional 2 points. You'll get 4 points. If he moves on unrest tiles, then whoever owns that section is going to lose points. And so you're constantly trying to maneuver it. You'll see that there's some leeway here, but he could be moving in different directions depending on how the canals are built and made. And there's tiles that also let you move your canals and rearrange them if you like to get them in a different direction. The game comes with little white tokens. These are idiotic, honestly, but they look like you punched them out of a board. Well, you did, I guess. And you can put them down to show where the guy is going to move each turn, because let's say he's moving 11 spaces. You might want to keep track of how those 11 spaces are on the ship when it moves. So that's pretty much the game. Each turn, you're going to be, drafting these cards, picking one of the action cards, playing the action cards, then moving the boat, unless someone plays the card that the boat doesn't move this turn. And then you keep going. Once the boat has gone up and down twice, the game is over. You'll do some end game scoring for these two boards, and whoever has the most points is the winner. Okay, so like I said, this is an action selection system I really like. I like taking an action card and then using it to do different things. That's a good idea, right? Here's the thing. That's my favorite mechanism that this game has, and yet this game almost ruins that for me, and there's a couple reasons for it. One is the fact that these actions are not easy to figure out what they are. These are really bland-looking cards. They have a bunch of symbols on them, and so that's one problem. Secondly, the actions themselves are not that interesting. I'm not sitting there going, oh, what should I do this time? You're like, first of all, you're going to take a while looking at there's 3 different things to do in each card. You're like, I want to do this card, but that only lets me build 1 canal tile. This one lets me build 2, but I don't want to use that action. So that process takes a while. And the actions are very similar. Each card is very similar to the next. There's one major difference in each card, and it's not that exciting. And a lot of the actions require you to use those unrest tiles. So you want to get those unrest tiles there, then use them to hit somebody else. Like really, in a Euro game like this, I'm suddenly going to make someone else lose 8 points or send their unrest tiles there. You're hitting one player. Hitting one player is fine in a 2-player game, but in a 5-player game, I'll hit you lose 8 points because you're winning. And honestly, when we played this, the scores were very close to each other. But the biggest sin of these action cards is this. They're boring. The game just isn't that interesting. You put out canal. What canal should you put? Well, I'll put a canal near where the boat's going to move next. What should I do with the canal? I'll rotate it so that the boat hopefully follows mine. I'll put out canal tokens that are worth a lot of points. Canal tokens that are worth fewer points, I'll throw them up the temple and get extra points at the end of the game. There's just not a lot of options. The board is extremely thin. As you're traveling down this board, there's not a lot of maneuvering for the boat. I was just really disappointed by this. The gameplay itself, if I look at it and I take an objective look, the gameplay is fine, right? Take an action card, I will do these actions. And they're going over here gets points, and going here, then the guy moves down the river. But when it comes down to it, there's no excitement about the game. It's like, yeah, okay, you did that. Huh, you did that. Huh, I did that. I never felt like a sense of accomplishment about what I did. And the boat could suddenly make a turn and skip all your tiles, so all that work you've done is wasted. It was just very disappointing. And the game is not that short either, and you feel like you're doing the same thing over and over again. And I move tiles over here so then I can put these tiles on the board. And then I move some more tiles over here so that I can spend those tiles. You lose 8 points, ha ha ha. Just was, And the components it's not easy to see, the numbers on the tiles, and then there's a really long section in the rule book, which, by the way, the game doesn't have English rules, but you can find them online. Really long section in the rule book about how to move the boat. I mean, I think it's like an 11-step process. It's fairly complicated for something that should be really simple, like And I mean, once we got into it, we understood, okay, the boat moves this way, and it makes sense, but there's so many games out there that do similar things to this game, and this game is more complicated than its fun factor warrants. So this is the big draw to the game, right? These action cards, and it's its biggest weakness. So that alone tanks the game for me. But then you have these two boards here that one of them is good for you and one is bad. Can you tell at a glance which one's which? No, I can't either. You have to look pretty closely to them, and they don't make really a lot of thematic sense, and riots come and make you lose points because another player's decided to knock you down. It has a bit of a take that element, which really doesn't work in this game because the take that element is mostly just, I'm hitting you to make you lose points. Doesn't help me out at all, just hurts you, and that was one of the few good cards left when it was my turn to draft. The game doesn't scale very well. I mean, the length of the river scales, but the action cards, when there's two players, I'll just take one, and then you get one of the leftover 9 or whatever. When there's 5 players, the action cards are much more scarce. It's very different feels, and, well, I don't really like either one of them. So, I really thought I would enjoy this game, but I don't. Dice Tower Judgment, boring.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!